I've had a few people online ask me about segregated funds, so today that's what I'm going to talk about. First of all, what the hell is a segregated fund? What are they used for? Why don't I like them? And are they actually good for anything? The first thing you need to understand that a segregated fund is basically exactly like a mutual fund, except that it can only be sold by an insurance advisor. If you don't know what a mutual fund is, please watch my video explaining what a mutual fund is. And why can it only be sold by an insurance advisor? That's because there is an insurance component added to the segregated fund or the mutual fund. And so it's got a few bells and whistles that a mutual fund doesn't have, but are they any good? So first, let's just look at an example. Let's say there's a guy named Jim. He's really afraid of investing, so he talks to an insurance advisor that says, well, why don't you buy a segregated fund because there's no way that you can lose your principal. Well, that sounds absolutely fantastic. So then what happens is Jim buys this segregated fund that has some guarantees attached to it because people love guarantees. And what it will say is, if you hold on to this investment for say 10 or 15 years, there is 0% chance that you're going to lose your principal investment. So he invested $100,000. There's no way he can't cash out in 15 years with at least that amount. Then there's also sort of a life insurance component attached to it where it will say, if you die in any time in that 15 years, then we'll pay out at least 75% to your beneficiaries. Some of them are more, up to 100%, and some are less. All of this sounds absolutely great, but what exactly is the catch? And this reminds me a lot of my favorite quote from the movie Tommy Boy, when one of his customers or prospective customers asks him how come there's not a guarantee on the product. And then Tommy Boy says, if you want me to take a dump in a box and mark guarantee, I will. I've got spare time. That's because if you've seen any of my past videos before, I have explained that as long as you're invested properly and you're tracking the stock market indexes, there's really never been a time in history when the stock market has been down over the course of 15 years. So in the end, basically what you're doing is just paying a super high premium because it has the word guaranteed written on it. Now, mutual funds that have MERs, say 2%, 2.5%, if that's turned into segregated fund, you can find your MERs going up north of 3% for buying those funds. That means if this guy bought a $100,000 segregated fund, he's paying $3,000 a year out of that investment just to hold it, which is absolute insanity. So that's the first reason why I don't really like segregated funds, is because you're paying like a crazy huge premium for a guarantee that you don't really need. Second, I don't really love them because they can only be sold by insurance advisors. And I'm not saying that all insurance advisors are bad, but because I am an insurance advisor, but first and foremost, I'm a financial planner. And guys that are just insurance advisors generally aren't looking at the big picture, and they're just trying to sell a product that's best for them. Because the insurance industry is actually not great with regulations yet, so that means that guys can pretty much sell anything and nobody will look and see if that was in the best interest of the client, which I obviously have a problem with. And lastly, there's also huge, really long terms with buying these segregated funds. Like I said before, like 15 years, and if you sell it before then, you lose all that guarantee. You've just been paying a whole bunch of money for nothing. People also like about segregated funds, it sounds great that you can say maybe every 3 years you can reset your guarantee. So if this investment went up to $115,000 3 years from now, you could say, I want to reset my guarantee to be $115,000. However, that means you now have to hold it for an additional 15 years or whatever that term is. So you're holding it for a really long time. Now, I did say there are a couple reasons why I don't mind segregated funds. First of all, you can name a direct beneficiary for the segregated fund because of the insurance component. So this matters a lot more in provinces that aren't Alberta, because Alberta, it doesn't really matter what your estate ends up being because probate is only $400, but other provinces will charge, say, 1.5% on the entire value of your estate. So you could name a direct beneficiary for this and then have it go outside of the value of your estate, reducing your overall tax bill upon death. So that is one good thing. Another thing is that you can do that. So maybe a good idea is to buy a small one later in life and name your executor the beneficiary of that, so that they have some money right away that they can use to help deal with the estate issues that come up, because the rest of your money is going to be tied up for quite a while. But other than that, I mean, I don't really feel that they're a great investment, because you're paying so much money for a product that, I mean, your return's going to be better if you just buy the underlying mutual fund, or you listen to me and buy even lower cost index funds. Thank you.